The first time my mother called about the leaking roof, I was in the middle of a quarterly finance meeting. I ignored it. The second call came 10 minutes later, then a third. By the fourth call, my hands were shaking as I excused myself from the conference room. "Mom, I'm at work. What's wrong?" "Charlie, thank God." Her voice cracked with tears. "The roof. Water's pouring in. Your father says it might cave in any day now. We don't know what to do." I'm Charlie, by the way. The responsible daughter. The one who started working at 16 and never stopped. The one who clips coupons and tracks expenses in color-coded spreadsheets. The boring one, according to my sister Sasha. "Did you call the insurance company?" I asked, pacing the hallway. "They won't cover it. Something about pre-existing damage." Mom's voice hitched higher. "We need $18,000 for repairs. Charlie, baby, I hate asking, but you're so good with money." My stomach clenched. That was my entire emergency fund. 3 years of overtime and packed lunches and saying no to happy hours. "What about Sasha?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Oh, honey." Mom's voice softened with familiar excuses. "You know your sister's still finding her path. She can barely make rent." Right. Because at 25, Sasha was still finding herself through unpaid fashion internships and Instagram influencer attempts, while I worked 60-hour weeks as a financial analyst. "I'll think about it," I said. "The ceiling in the guest room is already sagging," Mom whispered. "I'm so scared, Charlie. You've always been our rock." I hung up and returned to my meeting, but couldn't focus. By evening, Mom had sent photos of water stains and what looked like serious structural damage. Dad called too, something he never did. "Princess," he said, his voice grave. "I wouldn't ask if it wasn't an emergency." I stayed late at work that night, staring at my banking app. $17,892.43 in savings, my safety net, my future down payment. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "We love you so much, sweetheart. You've always been the one we could count on." I closed my eyes and hit transfer. Mom called immediately, crying with gratitude. "You're such a blessing, Charlie. We'll pay you back as soon as we can." "Just get the roof fixed," I said, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in my chest. For weeks after, I threw myself into work, avoiding thoughts of my decimated savings. Mom sent occasional updates about contractors and estimates, but something felt off. The messages were vague, missing details. Then one Sunday, I drove past their house on my way to the grocery store. I slowed down, frowning. The roof looked exactly the same. No construction equipment, no signs of repair. I pulled over, studying the shingles. They were old, sure, but there was no visible damage, no tarps, no evidence of the emergency that had drained my bank account. Movement caught my eye. Sasha was on the front porch, wearing designer sunglasses and waving a brand new iPhone. She was talking excitedly to someone on her phone. "Just wait until you see it," she squealed. "Mom and Dad are surprising me next week. It's going to be amazing." My hands tightened on the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. A familiar sick feeling crept into my stomach, the same one I got when Sasha got a car for her 16th birthday while I took the bus, or when she went to Europe after graduation while I worked double shifts to pay off student loans. I wanted to storm up to the porch and demand answers. Instead, I did what I always did, smiled, swallowed my questions, and drove away. But something had shifted. Maybe it was the way Mom avoided my calls the following week. Maybe it was Sasha's cryptic social media posts about big dreams coming true. Or maybe it was just that after 28 years of being the good daughter, something inside me had finally cracked. I opened my laptop that night and started a new spreadsheet. This time, I wasn't tracking my savings. I was documenting every lie, every manipulation, every time I'd been the family ATM while Sasha was the family princess. My phone buzzed, Mom asking if I was coming to Thanksgiving dinner next week. I typed yes with steady fingers, already knowing it wouldn't be the peaceful family gathering she expected. Because this time, I wasn't just bringing pie. I was bringing receipts. The sound of a revving engine cut through the crisp November air as I pulled into my parents' driveway for Thanksgiving. A cherry red BMW convertible was parked in my usual spot, top down despite the cold. Sasha sat perched on the driver's side, posing while Mom took photos. "Isn't she gorgeous?" Sasha called out as I parked on the street. "Mom and Dad surprised me last week. Can you believe it?" I could, actually. The sick feeling in my stomach told me I could believe it all too well. "Wow," I managed, gripping the casserole dish I'd brought until my knuckles went white. "That's quite a surprise." "Come look at the interior." Sasha bounced out of the car, grabbing my arm. "It's genuine leather. And look at the sound system." Mom beamed from behind her phone. "Doesn't your sister look perfect in it? Like it was made for her." I forced myself to nod, doing the mental math. A new BMW convertible would cost at least $18,000 down, Sasha said proudly, as if reading my thoughts. "Mom and Dad handled the rest of the financing. Isn't that amazing?" $18,000, the exact amount I'd transferred for the roof emergency. "Where's Dad?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. "Inside watching football," Mom said quickly. Too quickly. "Charlie, honey, could you help me in the kitchen?" In the kitchen, I mechanically chopped vegetables while Mom fluttered around, chattering about Sasha's new job prospects and how the car would help her network. "Has anyone looked at the roof yet?" I asked casually. Mom's hands fumbled with a serving dish. "Oh, we got a second opinion. Turns out it wasn't as bad as we thought. Just needed some patching." "Really? Who did the work?" "Oh, you know." She waved vaguely. "That company your father always uses? Charlie, could you check if the rolls are burning?" The rolls weren't in the oven. We both knew they weren't. Dad appeared in the doorway, looking everywhere but at me. "Need any help in here?" "Actually," I said, setting down my knife, "I'd love to see the roof repairs. Maybe I could take a look after dinner?" "Not today, Princess," he said quickly. "It's getting dark. Besides, you don't want to mess up your nice outfit." Right, because my Target sweater and jeans were so precious compared to Sasha's designer ensemble. Dinner was torture. Sasha dominated the conversation, describing every feature of her new car in excruciating detail. Mom and Dad kept refilling their wine glasses, throwing nervous glances my way whenever they thought I wasn't looking. "Remember when I got my first car?" I said during a rare moment of silence. "That used Honda with 200,000 miles on it?" "You've always been so practical, honey," Mom said brightly. "So independent. We knew you could handle it." "Unlike me," Sasha laughed. "I'd probably die if I had to drive some old beater." My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably Evangeline checking if I'd discovered anything new. I excused myself to the bathroom, pulling up my banking app. There it was, the transfer from 3 months ago, $17,192.43. But something was different. The transaction description had changed. Instead of emergency home repair like I remembered, it now read, "For Sasha's surprise." My hands shook as I scrolled through my statement history. They must have changed the description after the fact, not realizing I'd see it. Sloppy. The kind of mistake people make when they're used to getting away with everything. I took a screenshot, then another. My finger hovered over the share button, tempted to send it all to Sasha right now. A knock at the door made me jump. "Charlie," Mom's voice. "Dessert's ready, sweetie." I opened the door to find her standing there, wringing her hands. For a moment, I saw fear in her eyes. She knew I knew. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. I smiled, the same smile I'd perfected over years of being the good daughter. "Everything's fine, Mom. Just needed a minute." Back at the table, Sasha was showing Dad something on her new iPhone. Another recent gift, I assumed. They all looked so comfortable, so certain in their roles. The golden child, the enabling parents, the reliable daughter they could always count on to shut up and pay up. I declined dessert and left early, citing work in the morning. As I drove home, my phone lit up with a text from Mom. "Thanks for coming, sweetie. We love you so much." I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled into my apartment complex and opened my laptop. The spreadsheet I'd started was waiting, ready for new entries. But now, I had something better than suspicions. I had proof. And I was just getting started. "You need to see this," I said, spreading bank statements across Evangeline's kitchen counter. "Look at the dates." My cousin leaned forward. "Coffee forgotten. March 15th, emergency plumbing repair. July 8th, structural damage assessment. And now the roof." She looked up sharply. "All matching Sasha's Instagram posts." I pulled up Sasha's social feed. Here she is in Cancun, posted March 16th. Here's her designer shopping spree in July. And now the BMW. Those manipulative... Evangeline's face darkened. "How much total?" "Nearly 40,000 over the past year." My voice cracked. "And that's just what I've found so far." "Girl." Evangeline grabbed my shoulders. "You're not just going to let this go, right? Tell me you're not doing that good daughter thing again." I shook my head. "Not this time. But I need to be smart about it. If I confront them without enough evidence, they'll just deny everything." "Then we get more evidence." Evangeline pulled out her laptop. "Start with the contractors they claim to hire. If there were really emergency repairs, there would be permits filed with the city." We spent hours searching public records. No permits, no contractor invoices, no insurance claims, just a trail of perfectly timed emergencies whenever Sasha wanted something expensive. "Remember when they said my college fund dried up?" I said, staring at an old bank statement. "I had to take out loans for my last 2 years." "But let me guess, Sasha's fund was fine?" "More than fine. She got a car and a spring break trip her senior year because she was stressed about graduation." My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "The truth isn't as clean as you think. Blood money buys silence." I showed Evangeline. "What does that mean?" "Someone knows something." She frowned. "Maybe about where your parents got their money?" Dad's always been vague about the family business. I opened my laptop again. Time to dig deeper. By evening, I had a folder full of screenshots, documents, and timestamps. Each piece of evidence made my stomach turn, but also made me stronger. This wasn't just about the BMW anymore. This was about years of lies. "You should talk to Aunt Meredith," Evangeline suggested. "She never liked how your parents treated you." I wouldn't even know what to say. "Hey, got any family secrets that could explain why my parents keep stealing from me?" "Actually," Evangeline hesitated. "She called me last week, asked if you were okay after Thanksgiving, said she had something important to tell you." My phone buzzed again, Zachariah's name lighting up the screen. My ex. I hadn't heard from him in months. "Hey," his text read, "saw you at Thanksgiving. You seem different, stronger. Want to grab coffee?" "Delete that," Evangeline said firmly. "You don't need complications right now." But something made me save it. Maybe because he was right. I was different, stronger, finally ready to stop being the family doormat. I drove home that night with a plan forming. The annual family Christmas party was coming up. Everyone would be there. Extended family, old friends, business associates. The perfect audience for the truth. But first, I needed to talk to Meredith. I was unlocking my apartment door when I saw it, an envelope on the floor. Inside was a single bank statement from 15 years ago. Most of it was redacted, except for one transaction. Transfer from estate of Margaret Parker, $500,000. Margaret Parker. My grandmother. The one who died when I was 13. My hands shook as I Googled her name. The first result was an old newspaper article. Local business owner dies in suspicious circumstances. Another text came through from the unknown number. Ask your father about the insurance policy. Ask him who really paid for his perfect life. I sat there in my dark apartment, surrounded by evidence of recent betrayals while holding proof of older, darker secrets. All those years of being told to be grateful, to understand, to sacrifice for family. What if it was built on something rotten? My phone lit up again. Meredith. We need to talk. Tomorrow. Come alone. I texted back one word. When? Her response was immediate. Noon. Bring those bank statements you've been collecting. It's time you learned what kind of family you're really dealing with. I looked at my spreadsheet of lies, the mysterious bank statement, the threatening texts. Everything I thought I knew about my family was unraveling. But maybe that was good. Maybe it needed to unravel. Because the truth about the BMW wasn't just about money. It was about power, control, years of manipulation wrapped in the pretty package of family loyalty. Well, family loyalty cuts both ways. And I was done being the only one bleeding for it. I pulled into my parents' driveway at 10 a.m., timing it perfectly. Dad would be at work, and Sasha never woke up before noon. Just Mom, home alone with her guilt. Charlie! Mom's surprise was obvious when she opened the door. I didn't know you were coming by. Thought I'd help with the roof repairs, I said brightly, stepping inside. Since I invested in it and all. Her face went pale. Oh, honey, today's not good. The contractors are coming later? I finished. Great. I'll wait. Maybe check out the damage myself first? No! She grabbed my arm as I headed for the stairs. I mean, it's not safe up there. I pulled away gently. Funny, the roof looked fine when I drove by last week, almost like it was never damaged at all. Mom sank into a kitchen chair, hands trembling as she reached for her wine glass. At 10 a.m. Interesting. Charlie, please, you don't understand. You're right, I said, pulling out my phone. I don't understand. Like I don't understand why my bank transfer is labeled for Sasha's surprise instead of emergency repair. The wine glass froze halfway to her lips. Or why there are no contractor quotes, no permits, no insurance claims. I scrolled through my evidence. But the BMW dealership has a nice clear paper trail. It's complicated, she whispered. Simplify it for me. Instead, she started crying. The familiar guilt-tripped tears that always worked before. We're family. Everything we do is for this family. Really? I headed for the stairs. Let's see what other family secrets are hiding in the attic. Charlie, wait! But I was already climbing. The attic door wasn't locked. They never thought I'd look here. Why would perfect, trusting Charlie ever snoop? The attic was dusty but organized. Filing cabinets lined one wall. I opened the nearest drawer as Mom hovered anxiously behind me. Those are private documents. Like my college fund statements? I pulled out a folder. The one that mysteriously dried up? Right when Sasha needed her third car? More papers spilled out. Bank statements, investment records, a document that made my heart stop. My original college fund balance. Nearly triple what they'd told me was left. You lied, I said quietly. There was plenty of money. You just gave it to Sasha instead. She needed… What? What did she need more than an education? To be happy, Mom burst out. You were always so capable, so independent. Sasha needs more support. Support? I laughed bitterly. Is that what we're calling financial fraud now? My phone buzzed. Zachariah. Can we talk? I know things about your family's business. Important things. Don't talk to him. Mom's voice was sharp. I turned to find her reading over my shoulder, face tight with fear. Why not? What does my ex know that I don't? Nothing. He's just trying to cause trouble. But her hands were shaking harder now. I dug deeper into the files, finding documents with my grandmother's name. Property deeds, insurance policies, business transfers. Mom? I held up a paper. Why does this show Dad receiving $500,000 from Grandma's estate when he told everyone she died broke? Put those away. Her voice was different now. Dangerous. Some things are better left alone. Like the roof repairs that never happened? Or the inheritance that disappeared? Or maybe Charlie Ann Parker. I froze. Not at Mom's voice, but at another one from the attic doorway. Aunt Meredith? She stood there, face grim. Put the files down, Rebecca. It's time. Meredith, don't. Mom's plea was barely a whisper. She deserves to know what kind of family she's sacrificing for. Meredith turned to me. Your father didn't just steal your money, girl. He stole your future, and not just yours. What are you talking about? The money, the business, your grandmother's death. Meredith's eyes were hard. It's all connected, and it's time you knew how. Mom lunged for the files, but Meredith was faster. She pulled out a yellowed envelope. Your grandmother wrote this letter the day before she died, Meredith said, about your father's gambling debts, about threats from dangerous people, about the insurance policy that would solve everything if she died accidentally. The attic air grew thick with decades of secrets. Mom had stopped crying, her face now a mask of cold fury. You promised never to tell, she hissed at Meredith. No, Meredith replied calmly. I promised to protect the innocent. That's exactly what I'm doing. She handed me the envelope. Read it somewhere safe, then decide what kind of justice you're really looking for. The coffee shop was nearly empty when I met Meredith the next afternoon. My grandmother's letter burned in my bag, still unopened. Some truths needed witnesses. You look exactly like her, Meredith said, studying my face. Margaret, same steel in your eyes. Tell me everything, I said, placing my grandmother's letter on the table between us. First, read it. Meredith pushed the envelope closer. In her own words. My hands trembled as I unfolded the yellowed paper. My dearest Meredith, if you're reading this, I'm dead. Not from cancer like they'll claim. Your brother Jonathan came to me last week, desperate. He owes money to dangerous people. Says they'll hurt his girls if he doesn't pay. He asked about my life insurance. $500,000. Enough to clear his debts if something accidental happened to me. When I refused, he mentioned how easy it would be for an old woman to fall downstairs. I've changed my will. Everything should go to my granddaughters equally in trust until they're 25. If I die before this reaches you, you'll know why. Protect them, Meredith, especially Charlie. She sees too much, feels too deeply. They'll try to break her spirit to keep her quiet. With love and regret, Margaret. The police ruled it an accident, Meredith said quietly. Fell down her basement stairs. Your father collected the insurance the next day. My coffee grew cold as Meredith filled in the gaps. How Dad gambled away his inheritance. How Mom helped cover it up. How they used Sasha's neediness to manipulate me, keeping me too focused on her demands to question the past. But why? I whispered. Why favor Sasha so obviously? Because you remind them of Margaret. Every time you question something, every time you show that same strength. Meredith's eyes hardened. They see the woman who could have exposed them. The inheritance trust she mentioned should have been split equally between you and Sasha when you turned 25. Instead, your parents claimed the estate was worthless. Used the insurance money to start their business. My phone buzzed. Zachariah. Met your grandmother once. She warned me about your father. I should have told you sooner. He knew. I showed Meredith the text. Margaret trusted him, thought he might protect you. She sighed. That's why your parents pushed him away. Memories flooded back. The sudden fights, Mom's hints about other women, Dad's convenient job offer for Zachariah across the country. There's more, Meredith continued. The business? Built with borrowed money from people who don't forgive debts. Your father's still paying them off. Using my money, I said flatly. Every emergency payment. Some went to Sasha to keep her happy, compliant. But most... Meredith pulled out more documents. These are transfers to offshore accounts. Your father's business associates. My head spun. The roof scam wasn't just about Sasha's car. It was about keeping dark secrets buried, using my own sister as a smokescreen. Watch this, I said, pulling up my phone. I dialed Mom's number on speaker. Charlie? About yesterday. Just wanted to say I understand now, I cut in smoothly. About the roof money, about everything. Silence. Then cautiously, "You do? Family first, right? Like with Grandma Margaret?" The sharp intake of breath was audible. "Who have you been talking to? Does it matter? The truth was there all along, in bank statements, in convenient accidents, in every time you used Sasha to distract me from asking questions. Charlie, please." "The Christmas party's next week," I continued calmly. "Lots of business associates attending, I hear. Wonder what they'd think about where their money really goes." "Don't threaten me." Mom's voice turned cold. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Actually, I do. Finally." I glanced at Meredith. "Say hi to Dad for me. Tell him Grandma says hello." I hung up as Mom started yelling. Within seconds, texts flooded in. "Dad, we need to talk." "Sasha, why is Mom crying?" "Unknown number. You're playing a dangerous game. They'll try to stop you," Meredith warned. "Let them try." I gathered the documents, including my grandmother's letter. I'm done being the quiet one. My phone buzzed again. "Zachariah. I have proof too. Bank records, recordings. When you're ready." I showed Meredith. She nodded slowly. "Your grandmother would be proud. Just be careful. The truth doesn't just expose lies. It makes dangerous people desperate." "Good," I said, standing up, "because I'm feeling pretty desperate myself." The Christmas party was 7 days away. Time to prepare my own special gift for the family, wrapped in receipts and tied with a bow of consequences. The annual Christmas party buzzed with forced cheer as I walked into my parents' house. 50 guests filled the living room, all carefully curated by Mom to project the perfect image of success. Business associates, country club friends, family members who'd been kept in the dark for decades. "Charlie!" Mom's smile was brittle as she air-kissed my cheek. "You're late." "Traffic." I gestured to my laptop bag. "Had to finish some work presentations." Her eyes narrowed at the bag. We both knew what kind of presentations I had prepared. "Your father wants to speak with you," she whispered. "In his study. Now. After I get a drink." I moved toward the bar where Zachariah was waiting. We'd planned this carefully. "Everything ready?" he murmured, handing me a sparkling water disguised as champagne. "Thumb drives loaded. You?" He patted his jacket pocket. "Audio recordings safe and sound. Your grandmother was smart to make copies." Sasha breezed by in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Oh my God, what's he doing here?" She glared at Zachariah. "Just catching up," I smiled. "Lots of catching up." Dad appeared at my elbow, gripped tight on his whiskey glass. "Princess, study, now." "Actually," I raised my voice slightly, "I have something to share with everyone, a special Christmas presentation." "Not now," he growled. "Yes, now." I moved toward the living room's mounted TV. "Everyone, if I could have your attention, please?" Mom practically sprinted across the room. "Charlie, don't you dare." "I've prepared a little family history," I continued, plugging my laptop into the TV. "About inheritance, about business practices, about tragic accidents." The room quieted. In the corner, Meredith stood ready with her phone, recording everything. "This isn't the time," Dad said loudly. We're celebrating lies," I cut in. "Starting with this." I clicked play. The TV displayed my bank transfer. For Sasha's surprise, clear as day. Next came the fake roof repair claims. Then Grandma Margaret's insurance policy. "Some of you knew my grandmother," I addressed the crowd. "Some of you were there when she supposedly fell down those stairs." Dead silence. Mom had gone pale. Dad's hands were shaking. "But you didn't know about this." I played Zachariah's recording, Dad's voice from years ago, discussing accident arrangements with someone whose accent suggested serious criminal connections. "Turn it off," Dad commanded. "Make me." He started forward, but froze as Meredith stepped up beside me. "Touch her," she said quietly, and I send these files to the police right now. Sasha stared at the screen, recognition dawning. Wait, that money was supposed to be for the roof. Charlie's money. All the money was supposed to be for both of us, I told her. The inheritance, the trust funds, everything they stole. We gave you everything, Mom burst out. A good home, opportunities. You gave me guilt, I corrected. Manipulation, lies. You used Sasha to distract me while you paid off gambling debts with blood money, the crowd murmured. Business associates exchanged worried looks. This wasn't the festive party they'd expected. You don't understand, Dad pleaded. Those people would have killed me. So you killed Grandma instead. The words hung in the air like poison. Someone gasped. A wine glass shattered. I have copies of everything, I announced. Bank records, insurance documents, Grandma's letter explaining exactly what Dad threatened to do to her. It's all backed up and ready to send to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. You'd destroy your own family, Mom demanded. You already did that, Meredith spoke up, the moment you chose money over murder. Sasha stepped forward, tears streaming. Is it true? Did you kill Grandma? Dad's silence was answer enough. Here's what happens next, I said calmly. You're going to transfer every penny of my stolen money back to me. You're going to confess to the insurance fraud, and you're going to face whatever consequences come. Or, Dad's voice was dangerous, or I send everything to the authorities and to your business associates. Let them decide how to handle someone who betrays deals. The room had emptied considerably. Only family remained, watching this implosion of carefully constructed lies. You have until midnight, I said, packing up my laptop. Choose wisely. I walked out, Zachariah and Meredith flanking me. Behind us, I heard Sasha's broken voice. All this time? You used me to hurt her? Sometimes revenge doesn't feel like victory. Sometimes it feels like finally being able to breathe. The truth was out. The choice was theirs. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one paying their price. The deadline came and went. At 12:01 a.m., I hit send on multiple emails. To the FBI, to investigative journalists, to Dad's shadowy business partners. By morning, everything exploded. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. News vans parked outside my parents' house. Dad's business partners showed up demanding answers. The carefully constructed house of cards was falling, and falling hard. They're asking for you, Sasha said when she showed up at my apartment, mascara streaked down her face. The police, I mean. I know. I let her in. I'm meeting with them this afternoon. She collapsed onto my couch. The BMW got repossessed this morning. Mom's crying nonstop. Dad's just sitting in his study drinking. Are you here to make me feel guilty? I'm here because I didn't know. Her voice cracked. About Grandma, about the money, about how they used me to hurt you. God, Charlie, I was so blind. I handed her a coffee. We both were, just in different ways. Ms. Parker? A detective stood in my doorway. I'd left it open when Sasha came in. We need to take your statement. The next hours passed in a blur of questions, documents, and revelations. Yes, I had proof of financial fraud. Yes, I had Grandma's letter. Yes, I could prove the systematic theft of my inheritance. Your father's been arrested, the detective said finally. Your mother, too, as an accessory. We'll need you both to testify. Sasha gripped my hand. Both of us? You're a victim, too, I told her. They stole your trust fund just like mine. They just bought your silence with pieces of it. More police came, more questions. Meredith arrived with additional documents, years of evidence she'd quietly gathered, waiting for someone brave enough to use it. Your grandmother would be proud, she said, hugging me tight. Both of you, she added, including Sasha. Zachariah texted, turn on the news. The local station was running the story. Dad's business partners had apparently been running quite the operation. Money laundering, fraud, maybe worse. Dad's arrest was just the tip of the iceberg. Ms. Parker? Another detective. We found something in your father's study, a recording, about your grandmother's death. My heart stopped. He confessed. Not exactly. But it's enough to reopen the case. Sasha broke down completely then. I held her while she sobbed, my own tears finally falling. Years of manipulation, of being pitted against each other, dissolved in our shared grief and rage. I'm so sorry, she whispered, for everything. The car, the money. I never knew it was yours. It was ours, I corrected. We were both supposed to have security, independence. They stole that from both of us. My phone buzzed again. Mom, calling from the police station. I declined the call. They want to make a deal, the detective said. Your father's willing to confess to everything, including your grandmother's death, in exchange for protection from his business associates. No deals, I said firmly. Let him face every consequence. The DA agrees. With the evidence you provided, they don't need his cooperation. More news vans arrived, more police, more questions about years of financial fraud and family secrets. What happens now? Sasha asked quietly. Now? I looked at the chaos around us. Now we rebuild, without lies, without manipulation, just truth. And therapy, Meredith added. Lots of therapy. A familiar face appeared in my doorway, the bank manager who had handled my emergency transfers. Ms. Parker, we've frozen all associated accounts, she said. Once the investigation confirms the fraud, we can begin restoration of funds. Both accounts, I said firmly. Mine and my sister's. Sasha started crying again. After everything they made me do to you. They made you do it, I emphasized. Just like they made me be the responsible one. We were both playing roles they wrote for us. The detective cleared his throat. One more thing. We found this in your father's safe. He handed me an old photo. Grandma Margaret holding baby me, Sasha not yet born. On the back, in her handwriting, my girls deserve better than lies. Truth sets us free. She knew, Meredith said softly. She was trying to protect you both. I hugged the photo to my chest, letting years of pain and anger flow through me. Mom and Dad would face justice. Their criminal associates would face consequences. The truth would finally come out. We deserve better, I told Sasha, echoing our grandmother's words. And now, we'll make sure we get it. Outside, reporters called my name. Inside, detectives gathered evidence. But in that moment, holding my sister and our grandmother's photo, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. The gavel struck with finality. Dad stared straight ahead as the judge read his sentence, 20 years for fraud, conspiracy, and manslaughter. Mom got 12 years for her role as an accessory. Neither looked at me or Sasha in the gallery. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. How does it feel to expose your own parents' crimes? It feels like justice, I said simply. For my grandmother. For every person they deceived. Sasha squeezed my hand. She'd testified too, breaking down on the stand as she described how our parents had manipulated us both. Her testimony had sealed their fate. The estate has been unfrozen, our lawyer announced, joining us. The trust funds will be distributed as originally intended, split equally between you both. What about the business partners? Sasha asked quietly. Most are in custody. The others... He shrugged. Let's just say they have bigger problems than your father now. Meredith waited by her car. Your grandmother's house is empty, she said. The police are done processing it. Ready to see it? The drive was quiet. I hadn't been to Grandma Margaret's house since before her death. It stood exactly as I remembered, a Victorian beauty with a wraparound porch where she used to read me stories. Look what I found, Meredith said, unlocking the door. In the living room, she'd set up an old projector screen. Home movies flickered to life. Grandma Margaret holding baby me, then toddler Sasha, teaching us to bake, reading on that porch. Her voice came through clear and strong. My girls are going to change the world someday. She left the house to you both, Meredith said softly. Joint ownership. It's in her real will, the one your father hid. Sasha walked to the window. We could restore it. Make it a home again. Together, I agreed. My phone buzzed. Zachariah. He'd been patient, supportive, never pushing for more than I could give. Coffee later? Yes, I texted back. Some broken things were worth rebuilding. Ms. Parker? A detective stood in the doorway. The safety deposit box you requested, we found it. Inside was a letter addressed to me and Sasha, dated the day before Grandma died. My darling girls, if you're reading this, the truth has finally come out. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from what's coming, but I know you'll protect each other when it does. Charlie, your strength isn't just in being responsible, it's in your capacity for justice. Sasha, your light isn't dimmed by their manipulation, it's waiting to shine on your own terms. Together you're unstoppable. The house is yours. The truth is yours. Your lives are yours. I love you both, forever and always, Grandma Margaret. Sasha wiped her eyes. She knew. All this time she knew they'd try to turn us against each other. But they failed, I said firmly. The afternoon sun streamed through stained glass windows, casting rainbow patterns across old hardwood floors. This house held darkness, yes, but also light, also truth. I'm selling the BMW, Sasha announced suddenly. And my designer stuff. Going back to school instead. Business degree? I asked. Social work. She smiled sadly. I want to help other families break cycles of abuse. Meredith cleared her throat. Your grandmother left something else, for when you were ready. She handed us each a key. To her private study. She called it her legacy room. The small room was lined with journals, decades of observations, evidence, carefully documented proof of our father's descent into criminality. She'd known what was coming, had prepared for it, had trusted us to finish what she started. Look at this, Sasha called. A photo album filled with pictures of us. But not just any pictures, moments when we supported each other, protected each other, loved each other despite our parents' manipulation. She saw who we really were, I realized, not who they tried to make us be. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom's burner prison phone. We did it all for you girls. I showed Sasha. Together we typed back, no, you did it for yourselves. We're doing this for us. Then we blocked the number. Outside, the sun was setting. Inside, decades of lies were finally fading into truth. Sasha and I stood in our grandmother's study, surrounded by her legacy of love and justice. Ready to go home? I asked. Sasha looked around the room, at the evidence of our grandmother's strength, at the proof of our own resilience. We are home, she said simply. And she was right. Sometimes home isn't where you're broken. It's where you finally become whole.
You're too old for me now, Marcus said like it was no big deal, as if he wasn't ending our 15-year marriage. I stood in the kitchen, gripping the counter to steady myself. He kept scrolling on his phone, not even looking at me. My name is Olivia. I'm 38. I never thought the man I supported through medical school, the man whose loans I helped pay, the man whose dream home I helped build, would say this to me. Sophia understands me better, he added, smirking. She's young, full of energy, 22. Remember what that was like? Well, maybe not anymore. I took a deep breath, my fingers brushing over the smooth countertop I had picked when we remodeled just 3 years ago. When were you planning to tell me about Sophia? He shrugged, his expensive watch, my anniversary gift to him, shining in the light. I'm telling you now, she's moving in next week. You should start packing. Pack? I asked, keeping my voice calm though my heart pounded. This is my house too, Marcus. He finally looked at me with a smug smile. Actually, it's not. Everything is in my name. The house, the cars, even that little yoga studio you run. Did you really think I'd put a housewife's name on anything important? Housewife. The word stung. I had built my yoga studio from nothing while supporting his career. But to him, I was just someone who stayed home. We're married, Marcus. Everything we built together. About that, he interrupted, straightening his designer suit. I'm not signing any divorce papers. No official divorce means no property split. Simple as that. You can leave quietly, or I can make things hard for you. I watched him walk toward his bedroom, my mind racing. What he didn't know was that 3 months ago, I found a receipt for a diamond bracelet I never got, along with a hotel booking. That same day, I met with Diana Torres, the best divorce lawyer in town. Oh, Marcus called out, don't bother trying to access our accounts. I already moved everything. You understand, right? Can't have you getting emotional and doing something stupid with my money. Is money. I almost laughed at his arrogance. Instead, I pulled out my phone and sent a text to Diana. He finally told me, go ahead. That evening, I sat in the home office while Marcus packed for what he called a medical conference in Miami. We both knew Sophia would be there, probably already wearing that bracelet. Don't touch anything while I'm gone, he warned. The security cameras are recording. I'd hate to press charges if something goes missing. I nodded, looking at a framed photo of us in Greece 5 years ago. How long have you been planning this, Marcus? He thought for a moment. Does it matter? You're not a bad person, Olivia. You're just not what I need anymore. Sophia is fresh, exciting. She doesn't come with all this history, like our life together was just baggage. I thought about the nights I stayed up helping him study, the vacations I skipped so he could build his career, the dreams I put on hold for him. You're right, I said softly. History doesn't matter when you're rewriting it. He frowned, confused by my calmness. He expected me to cry, to beg, to make a scene. Just be gone when I get back, he sighed. Sophia already picked new furniture. Time for a fresh start. After you left, I waited 30 minutes and made 2 calls. First, to Diana. He's gone. How soon can we move forward? Everything is ready, she said. He won't know what hit him. Second, to my brother James, a forensic accountant. Hey sis, he answered. Let me guess. He finally made his move. Exactly as you predicted, I said. What have you found? James chuckled. Oh, Olivia, you're going to love this. He's been creative with his finances. The IRS will be very interested. I ended the calls and walked through the house, our house, touching the walls, the furniture, the life we built. Marcus thought he was smart, keeping everything in his name, pushing me out without legal divorce. But he didn't know I had spent the last 3 months gathering everything, proof of his affairs, his secret accounts, his shady financial moves. Diana had built an unbeatable case. James had traced every penny he tried to hide. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Landed in Miami. Remember the cameras. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I smiled. Those cameras. They had been recording more than he realized. Have a great conference, I replied. Let him think I was defeated. Let him enjoy his weekend with Sophia. Because on Monday morning, everything would change. I poured myself a glass of wine, opened my laptop, and reviewed the files. 3 months of careful planning were about to pay off. Marcus thought I was a helpless housewife. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. Monday morning came with a thunderstorm, matching my mood perfectly. I sat in Diana's office, watching raindrops slide down the window as she spread documents across her desk. The cameras were a gift, really, Diana said, playing a video on her laptop. There was Marcus in his home office, telling Sophia exactly how he planned to hide money and avoid divorce. He was so focused on watching you, he forgot he was recording himself. I shook my head, remembering how proud he looked when he installed them. What time does his flight land? About an hour ago, Diana checked her watch. He should be walking into his office right as the papers are served. We included everything, videos, bank records, proof of his affairs. Let's see how he explains this to his hospital board. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Made it back safe. Where are you? The house better be empty. Before I could reply, another message popped up. What the hell is this? Why am I being served papers at work? I silenced my phone and turned back to Diana. What happens next? She pointed to highlighted sections of the documents. His financial fraud is serious. Your brother found proof that he hid money in secret accounts and lied about his income. That's not just a divorce issue, it's illegal. And the house? Diana smiled. That's the best part. Remember when he asked you to pay for renovations from your own account? That proves you have a legal claim to it. He can't just throw you out. My phone kept lighting up with messages from Marcus, each one more desperate. This is ridiculous. Call off your lawyers. You're making a huge mistake. Think about what this will do to my career. Diana smirked. You should see what's happening at his practice right now. The hospital won't like this kind of scandal. Right on cue, my brother James called. Sis, you won't believe this. Marcus just tried to access his offshore accounts. They're frozen. He's freaking out. I put the call on speaker. And guess what? James continued. That Miami trip with Sophia, he paid for it with hospital funds. Claimed it was a medical conference, but the only thing being treated was his champagne bill. Diana nodded. We need to act fast. He'll try to delete evidence once he realizes how bad this is. But don't worry, we already have everything saved. What about Sophia? I asked, thinking about his young mistress. Diana shrugged. She's in for a surprise. That bracelet, the car, the house he promised, all bought with stolen money. She might need her own lawyer. Just then, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. Your husband said we'd be living in luxury. Sophia snapped. Now they're saying I have to return everything. This is your fault. I laughed. No, Sophia. This is what happens when you trust a man who lies for a living. Good luck. I hung up and turned back to Diana. What's next? We wait, she said confidently. The evidence is airtight. Between the fraud, the cheating, and his hidden money, he's the one in trouble now. Want to see your settlement offer? She handed me a document listing what I would get, half of all assets, way more than Marcus claimed existed, full ownership of the house, and financial compensation for all the years I supported him. Another text from Marcus. Please, can we talk? I made a mistake. We can fix this. Diana saw me looking at my phone and shook her head. Don't answer. Let him sweat. He's realizing his perfect plan just exploded. I thought back to his words from days ago. You're too old for me now. Funny how quickly his tone had changed now that he was losing everything. James called again. Marcus's hospital privileges are suspended. Oh, and those patients he overcharged. They're coming forward. I looked outside at the stormy sky, feeling calm for the first time in weeks. Marcus thought I would cry, beg, walk away quietly. Instead, I had planned, prepared, and waited. Diana's phone rang. It was Marcus's lawyer. She put it on speaker. My client is willing to negotiate, he said, sounding exhausted. He's prepared to offer a generous settlement. Diana's voice was cold. Your client is in no position to offer anything. We're going after everything he tried to hide. He should be looking for a criminal lawyer. After hanging up, Diana turned to me. Ready for phase 2. I smiled. Marcus thought he had control. Now it was my turn. 2 weeks later, I sat in my yoga studio, looking over the final divorce papers. The morning sun filled the space I had built, the space Marcus once tried to claim as his. My phone buzzed with a message from James. You're not going to believe this. Marcus just tried to leave the country. Airport security stopped him. I wasn't surprised. In the past 2 weeks, his life had completely fallen apart. The hospital fired him after discovering his financial crimes. His reputation was ruined. Even Sophia had turned against him, suing him after realizing she might be involved in his fraud. Moments later, Diana called. The judge approved everything, she said proudly. The house is officially yours, and you're getting half of all assets, including those offshore accounts he thought we wouldn't find. How does it feel to be a millionaire? I smiled as my yoga students arrived. It feels like justice. Oh, and Olivia, Diana added, Marcus's lawyer called. He's desperate to make a deal to avoid jail. Funny how things change when you're facing prison time. After the call, I stepped into class, greeting my students. They didn't know the details of my divorce, but they had noticed the change in me, how I stood taller, how my smile was real this time. Today's focus is balance, I told them, and knowing your own strength. That afternoon, I returned home, my home now. The security cameras Marcus had installed to spy on me were gone. I had replaced them with my own. His expensive furniture, the ones Sophia planned to get rid of anyway, had been donated to a women's shelter. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Marcus. Please, his message read, I'll sign whatever you want. Just stop the investigation. I can't go to jail. I thought about replying but decided not to. Let him feel what it was like to be powerless, to have someone else decide his future. Instead, I called James. The IRS is all over his records, my brother said. This will keep him busy for years. And Sophia. She's talking to investigators in exchange for immunity. Apparently, she knows a lot about his schemes. I ended the call and stepped outside to my back patio, the same place where Marcus once told me I was too old for him. The garden I had planted was blooming, roses climbing the trellis I had put up last spring. Everything looked brighter now. Diana called with more news. The hospital is doing a full audit of his practice. They're reaching out to his patients about possible overcharging. His medical license is at risk. He never thought it would end this way, I said. They never do, Diana replied. Men like Marcus think they can get away with anything. They forget actions have consequences. That evening, I had a small dinner with James, Diana, and a few close friends who had stood by me. We sat around the dining table, the same table where Marcus used to ignore me while texting Sophia. To new beginnings, James toasted. And to justice, Diana added with a smile. My phone buzzed one last time. Another message from Marcus. I'm sorry, I never should have underestimated you. For the first time, his words were true. He had underestimated me. He thought I was weak, too dependent, too old to fight back. He never realized that while he was planning a future with Sophia, I was quietly gathering evidence, building my case, preparing for this exact moment. I deleted his message. He didn't deserve another second of my energy. I looked around at my friends, my home, my new life. I felt nothing but gratitude. Marcus had tried to throw me away, to make me feel small. Instead, he had pushed me to reclaim my power. To knowing your worth, I said, raising my glass, and never letting anyone tell you otherwise. As we celebrated, I thought about everything I had learned. Age wasn't a weakness, it was wisdom. It was strength. While Marcus and Sophia played checkers, I played chess, and in the end, that made all the difference. Tomorrow, I would wake up in my home, teach at my studio, and continue building my life. Stronger, wiser, and happier than before. The best revenge wasn't just surviving. It was thriving. You get nothing in the divorce, my mother-in-law, Linda, said with a smirk, waving some papers in my face. My son never registered your marriage. You're not even his real wife. I kept folding laundry, staying calm. Thanks for letting me know, Linda, I said, smoothing out David's dress shirt. She slammed the papers onto my folded clothes. Did you hear me? You're nothing. Just a woman who played house with my son. When he marries Olivia, she'll be his real wife. I looked at her and simply asked, is there anything else? My name is Alexandra. I had just learned that my 8-year marriage was a lie. But while Linda gloated, I thought about the safety deposit box at the bank, the one holding the real marriage papers I had secretly filed years ago. Linda frowned when I didn't react. You're not even upset. David is leaving you for a real woman, and you're acting like I just told you the weather. I picked up my laundry basket. I have dinner to make. Will you be staying? Her face turned red. You're delusional. When David hands you divorce papers tomorrow, don't say I didn't warn you. Olivia's already picking out new curtains. She stormed out. The moment her car drove away, I let out a deep breath and dialed a familiar number. Alexandra, said Margaret, my late mother's best friend and our family lawyer. I was wondering when you'd call. It's happening, I said. Linda just told me my marriage isn't legally registered. David's serving me divorce papers tomorrow. And the proof. Still in the safety deposit box. Smart girl, Margaret said. We have years of evidence, joint accounts, property, your contributions to the business. Linda made a mistake showing her hand so soon. I stared out the kitchen window at the garden I had planted. David and I were happy once. Then his family interfered. Then Olivia, his secretary, started staying late. Then came the lies. A car pulled up. David was home early for the first time in months. How fitting. I wiped my eyes and started cooking like nothing had changed. Alex, his voice was unsure. We need to talk. I turned to face him. About the divorce papers, or the fact that you never legally registered our marriage. His face went pale. How did you? Linda told me, I said, stirring the food. I can explain. Let me guess, I interrupted. Your mother convinced you it was for the best. Just a way to protect family assets. Did I miss anything? He opened his mouth, then closed it. Alex, please. You have to understand. Oh, I understand, I said. I understand that you and your family lied to me for 8 years, that you're leaving me for your secretary, and that you all think I'll walk away with nothing. A flicker of relief crossed his face. He expected tears. Begging. Instead, I set the table like it was any other night. I'll help you, he offered. A small settlement, maybe help with rent. I placed 2 plates down. That's very thoughtful of you. Will you be staying for dinner? He stared at me. Did you hear me? I'm leaving you. This house, everything, it's not yours. I smiled, thinking of the safety deposit box. Eat while it's hot. Tomorrow will be interesting. You're acting weird, he muttered, backing away. No, I said, sitting down. I've just changed. He left without eating. I finished dinner, then went upstairs to pack an overnight bag. Before bed, I made one last call. Hello, Officer Martinez. It's Alexandra Harrison. Remember that file I asked you to keep safe? It's time to use it. I was already at Margaret's office when David and his family arrived. Their confident smiles faded into confusion when they saw me. Linda clutched her expensive handbag. Thomas stood stiffly, and Olivia lingered at the back, clearly trying to outshine me. What is she doing here? Linda snapped at Margaret. This meeting is just to confirm their marriage was never legal. Margaret smiled, a sharp, knowing smile. Please have a seat. Alexandra has some documents to share. David scoffed. There are no documents. That's the whole point. I calmly opened my bag and placed a stack of papers on Margaret's desk. Actually, there are quite a few. Margaret held up the first one, the legal marriage registration I had secretly filed 8 years ago. Linda's face turned pale. That's impossible, she whispered. I made sure. You made sure to destroy the copy you took from the registry office. I finished. But you didn't know I filed it myself. My mother's best friend being a lawyer taught me to protect myself. David grabbed the paper, his hands shaking. This can't be real. Oh, it's very real, Margaret said, spreading out more documents. Bank records showing Alexandra's contributions, property investments in both names, and even company emails praising her work in the business. Thomas shifted uncomfortably. Those were internal messages, which became legal evidence the moment you tried to deceive her, Margaret cut in. But we're not done yet. Alexandra. I pulled out the final file, the one Officer Martinez had been keeping safe. These are records of every conversation where you and Linda planned to keep the marriage unregistered. Phone transcripts, emails, texts. Your mother was very thorough in documenting how you would protect the family assets. Linda's face turned gray. You recorded us? That's illegal. Not in this state, Margaret replied smoothly, especially when fraud is involved. David shot up from his seat. This is ridiculous. Even if the marriage is legal, I'm still divorcing her. She'll get a basic settlement and nothing more. About that, I said, handing him one last paper. His face drained of color as he read it. Margaret explained, this contract, which David signed 3 years ago, makes Alexandra a 50% owner of the family business, in exchange for her help securing the Anderson merger. You didn't even read it before signing, did you? I asked. David swallowed hard. 50%, he muttered. Thomas snatched the paper. You fool, he hissed. Olivia, finally speaking up, looked at David in shock. You said this would be simple. I let out a small laugh. Nothing about this has been simple. For 8 years, I watched and documented everything. I learned from the best. My mother and Margaret taught me to always be prepared. Linda's tone changed. We can make a deal. Name your price. I stood gathering my things. You already tried to name my price, a small settlement and help with rent. But I don't think you can afford me now. David's voice was hollow. What do you want? Everything I'm legally entitled to. Half of the house, the business, the assets. And I want you to explain to the board why I now own part of the company you tried to cut me out of. Thomas groaned. The board will never accept this scandal. Margaret shrugged. Then you better find a way to handle it quietly. Alexandra has been more than reasonable. Reasonable, Linda shrieked. She's destroying our family. I looked her in the eye. No, Linda. You destroyed your family the moment you built my marriage on a lie. I just refused to be your victim. As I walked out, I heard David call my name. I didn't turn back. Let him deal with the mess he made. My phone buzzed with a text from Officer Martinez. Everything go as planned. Better. I replied. Turns out being underestimated has its advantages. 3 months after the meeting in Margaret's office, I sat in my new corner office overlooking the city. The Harrison family business had undergone significant changes, most notably my promotion to co-CEO. The board, initially shocked by the revelations, had quickly recognized that my connections and business acumen were assets they couldn't afford to lose. David had moved out of our house, taking Olivia with him. Last I heard, they were living in a modest apartment across town. Quite a step down from the lifestyle he promised her. Linda had suddenly developed a passion for extended cruises, conveniently absent from most family business matters. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. It was Thomas, looking older than his years. Alexandra, he said, clutching a folder. The quarterly reports. We're up 20% since you took over the international division. I accepted the folder with a nod. Thank you, Thomas. Was there something else? He hesitated, then sank into one of my visitor chairs. I owe you an apology. We all do, but I should have known better. The signs were there, your intelligence, your dedication to the company. Instead, I let Linda convince me that you were a threat to our family's legacy. The irony, I replied, is that I would have helped build that legacy willingly. All I wanted was to be treated with respect. I know that now, he said quietly. David was a fool to let you go, to let his mother's prejudices bind him to what was right in front of him. I thought about the years I'd spent trying to prove myself worthy of the Harrison name, never realizing that I was already worth more than their schemes and manipulation. How is he? I asked, more out of courtesy than concern. Struggling, Thomas admitted. Olivia left last week. Apparently, the reality of dating a man who lives off his reduced trust fund wasn't as appealing as the fantasy of being a CEO's wife. I couldn't help but smile at the irony. And Linda, still finding herself on various cruise ships, though I suspect she's mostly hiding from the society gossip. Your success hasn't gone unnoticed. I picked up a magazine from my desk. My face was on the cover, under the headline Harrison Industries' New Leadership. A story of resilience and innovation. Success is the best revenge, I said, quoting my mother's favorite phrase. Thomas stood to leave, then paused. Your mother would be proud of you, Alexandra. She raised a daughter who couldn't be broken. After you left, I walked to the window, watching the city buzz below. My phone lit up with a message from Margaret. Dinner tonight? We should celebrate your latest acquisition. I smiled, thinking of the small technology firm I'd just purchased, one that David had been trying to acquire for years. Definitely, I replied. I have some news to share. The news in question sat in an envelope on my desk, an offer to buy out the Harrison family's remaining shares in the company. Thomas would stay on as an advisor, but the rest, including David's trust fund shares, would be transferred to my ownership. I learned something valuable through all of this. Sometimes people's worst intentions can lead to your best opportunities. David and his family had tried to ensure I would end up with nothing, but their deception had pushed me to document everything, to protect myself in ways that ultimately gave me more than I'd ever imagined. Later that evening, over dinner with Margaret, I finally allowed myself to reflect on the journey. Do you think I was too harsh? I asked, taking everything they tried to deny me. Margaret set down her wine glass. You took what you earned, Alexandra. Every share, every position, every bit of respect. You earned it all. They're the ones who tried to take everything from you. She was right, of course. I thought about the young woman I'd been 8 years ago, so eager to please, so willing to prove herself worthy of the Harrison name. That woman was gone, replaced by someone stronger. Someone who understood that worth isn't given by others, it's claimed by yourself. My phone buzzed with another message, this time from Linda. We need to talk. About the buyout offer. I turned off my phone without replying. She'd learned soon enough that the tables had turned permanently. The woman they tried to erase had become the one person they couldn't ignore. To new beginnings, Margaret raised her glass. To karma, I countered, clinking my glass against hers. Looking out at the city lights, I felt at peace. Sometimes life's greatest victories come not from fighting back, but from being prepared when others show their true colors. David, Linda, and their schemes had taught me that lesson well. I'd lost a husband but gained an empire. In the end, I couldn't have planned it better myself. I stood in the doorway of what used to be my bedroom, still wearing my hospital bracelet. The room looked completely different. The walls I had painted green were now covered in bright pink wallpaper. My photos were gone, replaced with pictures of my sister-in-law, Amanda. Even my bed, my expensive memory foam mattress, was buried under shiny pillows and unicorn toys. "This is her room now," my mother-in-law Margaret said with a smirk. She stood behind Amanda, resting her hands on her shoulders like she had won something. We thought it was time for some changes. I stood still, careful not to hurt my stomach, which was still healing from surgery. I had just spent a week in a hospital after an emergency operation. Coming home to this was a shock, but maybe I should have expected it. "Interesting timing," I said calmly, though my mind was racing. This wasn't just about a room. Margaret had been trying to push me out of this house for years. Amanda spun around in my grandmother's old vanity chair. "Mom thought this would be perfect for me while I look for a job in the city," she said sweetly. "It's so much better than that tiny guest room." I saw Margaret watching my reaction in the mirror. She had never liked me. In her eyes, I wasn't good enough for her son, Michael. I didn't come from a wealthy family, and no matter how hard I worked, she never respected me. "And where are my things?" I asked, already guessing the answer. "Oh, we put them in the basement," Margaret said. "Most of it was old anyway. Amanda needs space." I nodded, trying to stay calm. "And Michael? What does he think about this?" Amanda hesitated, but Margaret spoke quickly. "Michael understands that family helps each other. Amanda is going through a tough time." Right? By tough time, she meant Amanda had cheated on her fiancé and got kicked out of her apartment. But Margaret always defended her daughter. I stepped further into the room, feeling the stitches in my stomach pulse slightly. "Well, this is unexpected," I said. "But timing is everything." Margaret's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" I smiled, but not kindly. "Nothing. Just something to think about." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, Amanda, be careful with that vanity. The left drawer sticks sometimes." As I walked downstairs, I heard them whispering behind me. They thought they had won, that I would give up. But they had no idea what was coming. I sat down in my home office, the one room they hadn't touched. My laptop was right where I had left it. Good. This room held all the important documents, and I had been preparing for something like this for months. I opened my email. 3 days, that's all I needed. I had set this plan in motion long ago, after Margaret's last attempt to control my life. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Michael. "Just heard from Mom. Hope you're okay with the room situation. Amanda really needs our support right now." I stared at the message, feeling a mix of disappointment and determination. Michael always tried to please everyone. But this time, he had made the wrong choice. "It's fine," I texted back. "Everything is exactly where it needs to be." I pulled out a folder from my safe, running my fingers over the important papers inside. The house deed, insurance documents, and the one paper that would change everything. 3 days, I whispered to myself. Just 3 days. Upstairs, Amanda laughed loudly as she rearranged more furniture. Let them enjoy this moment. In 3 days, they would realize they had made a huge mistake. The next morning, I woke up on a couch in the living room. Loud music blasted from upstairs. Amanda's music. My stomach hurt as I sat up. A painful reminder that I was supposed to be resting. Instead, I was stuck here while Amanda took over my bedroom. Margaret walked in, dressed in her fancy clothes. "Oh good, you're awake. Amanda needs to use the shower, so you'll have to wait." I checked my phone. 7:15 a.m. 2 days and 16 hours left. "Actually," I said, standing up slowly, "I have an appointment this morning." Margaret frowned. "An appointment? Shouldn't you be resting?" "It's just a quick meeting with my lawyer, nothing too tiring." I kept my voice light. Margaret's face changed for a second. Was that fear? But she quickly covered it up. "Lawyer? What lawyer?" "Oh, just updating some documents after my hospital stay. Normal stuff. I grabbed my things, enjoying the way she shifted uncomfortably. As I walked toward the door, Margaret called after me. Does Michael know about this? I turned back and smiled. He will. At the law office, my friend Patricia Chen was waiting. She had known me since college, and she had seen enough of Margaret's behavior to understand the situation. Everything's ready, Patricia said, sliding a folder across the desk. Are you sure? Once we file these, there's no going back. I looked through the papers. They took over my bedroom while I was in the hospital, Patty. If I don't stop them now, they won't stop until I'm completely pushed out. And Michael? Still refusing to stand up to them. I sighed. He thinks if he ignores the problem, it'll go away. But this time he's wrong. Patricia nodded. All right, I'll file these today. They'll get the notification in about 48 hours. Perfect. When I got home, Amanda was on my couch, surrounded by expensive shopping bags. She didn't even look up from her phone. Mom said you went to see a lawyer, she said, pretending not to care but clearly curious. Just routine paperwork, I said, heading to my office. I had to check if phase 2 was ready. You know, Amanda called after me. Mom thinks you're planning something, but it won't work. This is our house now. I stopped at my office door. Our house. Yeah, she said smugly. Mom says Michael is the only one with a real career, so technically everything belongs to him. And we're his real family. I thought about the documents Patricia was filing, the plan I had set in motion months ago. Interesting, I said before closing the door behind me. That evening, Michael finally came home. He found me in my office, working on my laptop. Hey, he said, hesitating. Mom said you went to see a lawyer? I looked up at him, really looked at him. My husband of 5 years. The man who never stood up to his mother. The man who let his sister take over our bedroom. Yes, I did. He ran a hand through his hair, looking nervous. Look, I know the bedroom situation isn't great, but it's only temporary. Amanda's going through a rough time. I cut him off. When I was in the hospital, did you know what they were planning? His silence told me everything. Right, I said, turning back to my laptop. You should know things are going to change soon. What does that mean? He asked, his voice uneasy. In 36 hours, your mother and sister are going to learn some interesting things about property ownership and legal rights. He tried to laugh. Come on, you're overreacting. Mom's just helping Amanda get back on her feet. I shut my laptop and stood up, feeling the stitches pull slightly. No, Michael. Your mother is trying to push me out, and you're letting her. But what none of you know is that I've been keeping records. Every time they move my things, every manipulative comment, every attempt to take over. And in 36 hours, all of it is going to matter. His face paled. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe you should tell them to start packing, because when those papers arrive, everything will change. You're bluffing, he said, but his voice shook. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a thick envelope. Remember last year when your mom tried to sell my grandmother's antiques while we were on vacation? That's when I started preparing. This has everything: photos, videos, legal documents. In 36 hours, it all becomes public record. Michael looked at the envelope, then at me. For the first time, he looked truly afraid. What have you done? He whispered. I sat back down, calm and in control. I protected myself, since you wouldn't. The letter arrived exactly when Patricia said it would. I was in my office when I heard Margaret's loud, angry voice. What is this? What have you done? I walked into the living room. Margaret stood there, shaking, holding the papers. Amanda was nearby, looking pale. Michael sat on the couch, his head in his hands. Oh good, I said calmly. You got the notice. Margaret's hands trembled. This says that I own this house? I finished for her. Yes, it does. Amanda gasped. That's impossible. This is Michael's house. I shook my head. No, it's not. Last year, when Margaret tried to sell my grandmother's antiques, I realized I needed to protect myself. So I bought Michael's share of the house. He signed the papers himself. Michael lifted his head, his face pale. The refinancing documents, the ones you said were just updating our mortgage. Exactly, I said. You signed over your part of the house to me. It's all legal. Even your mother signed as a witness. Margaret's face turned white. I never signed. Check page 3, I said. See? Right under witness. Remember when you rushed to sign those HOA papers I brought home? You should have read them more carefully. They all went silent. It finally hit them. I had outsmarted them. I crossed my arms. The second set of papers lists every time you damaged my property, including taking over my bedroom. You can't kick us out, Amanda yelled. We're family. Actually, I can, and I am. I looked at my watch. You have 24 hours to leave. Anything left behind will be thrown out. Margaret turned to Michael. Are you just going to let her do this to us? Michael sat still, finally understanding everything. You planned this, he said softly. No, I corrected him. I prepared. That's different. I hoped I wouldn't have to do this, but when your mother and sister took over our bedroom while I was in the hospital, they crossed the line. Margaret scoffed. We were trying to help. No, you were trying to push me out. You've been trying since the day I married Michael. But I'm not someone you can bully away. I worked hard for this house, and I protected myself. I took out my phone. The police are on speed dial. You can leave now, or they can remove you in 24 hours. Your choice. Amanda burst into tears and ran upstairs. Margaret stood frozen, still gripping the papers. This isn't over, she hissed. It is, I said. And if you ever step onto my property again without permission, I'll press charges. I have years of proof. After they left, Michael and I sat in silence. I'll pack my things too, he finally said. Probably best, I replied. The divorce papers are in that pile. Patricia will contact your lawyer. He looked at me, half admiring, half regretful. You really planned for everything. I had to. I said you weren't going to protect me, so I protected myself. That night, I lay in my own bed, finally at peace. The awful pink wallpaper was already peeling, revealing my sage green paint underneath. Tomorrow, I'd start fixing everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Papers filed. You're officially free. I smiled. Margaret and Amanda had thought they could take everything from me, but their biggest mistake, underestimating me. The next morning, sunlight filled my room. The house was quiet. I opened a stuck drawer on my vanity, the one they had complained about. Inside were the property documents that had sealed their fate. The best revenge isn't getting even. It's being smart, protecting yourself, and knowing when to walk away. As I pulled down the ugly wallpaper, I smiled. They had celebrated too soon, but I would celebrate the right way, by rebuilding my life exactly how I wanted. Get out. This is my son's house. Patricia yelled, throwing my clothes down the stairs. Her face was red with anger. I've put up with you for 5 years, but enough is enough. Pack your things and leave. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, calm as I watched my mother-in-law's tantrum. My soft cashmere sweater, Michael's Christmas gift, landed at my feet, followed by my favorite jeans. This is my house too, I said quietly, picking up my clothes. Michael and I bought it together. Patricia laughed, sharp and cruel. Oh, sweetie, is that what you think? Michael bought this house before he met you. You're just here because he lets you stay. I knew that wasn't true. I had all the paperwork to prove it, but I didn't argue. Instead, I carefully folded my clothes and placed them in my bag. My name is Emma Davis. I'm 32 years old, and today my mother-in-law was kicking me out of my own home while my husband was away on a medical mission in Guatemala. Michael, a skilled surgeon, had left 2 weeks ago. Patricia had moved in, claiming she wanted to help while he was gone. From the start, I had a bad feeling about it. Patricia never liked me. She thought Michael deserved someone better than a high school art teacher, but this throwing me out was a new low. I already called Michael, Patricia said smugly, walking down the stairs. He agrees you should leave. He wanted to tell you for months, but he's too nice. I stopped packing and looked at her. Patricia was a skilled liar. She loved to manipulate people. But something was off this time. Her hands were shaking slightly, her eyes nervous. Really? I asked. That's funny because the satellite phone at Michael's camp has been down for 3 days. I got an email about it this morning. For a split second, Patricia froze. Then she quickly recovered. He called before that, obviously. I've been planning this for a while. I didn't believe her. Something had scared her. Then I remembered, yesterday, I had been organizing Michael's office. This is about the papers you were looking for, isn't it? Patricia's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. I was just tidying up. Right? I said, zipping my bag. That's why you search every drawer and folder. Because you were tidying. A few months ago, I had installed a small security camera in Michael's office. Every time Patricia visited, things seemed out of place. Michael thought I was being paranoid, but I wanted proof. You had no right to spy on me, she shouted. This is exactly why you need to leave. You're paranoid and unstable. Michael will be better off without you. I slung my bag over my shoulder and grabbed my laptop and a small box of watercolors. Michael's gift from Florence. I'll be back for the rest of my things later. Don't bother. Patricia snapped. I'll change the locks. And don't try to contact Michael. I'll tell him who you really are. I glanced back at her, standing in my foyer with a victorious smile. But in the mirror behind her, I saw something important. The small USB drive I had left on the side table, labeled security footage. Goodbye, Patricia, I said softly. See you soon. As I drove away, I smiled. Patricia thought she had won. She had no idea I had been preparing for this moment for years. I pulled into the Golden Grove Hotel, where I had booked a room yesterday after catching Patricia snooping in Michael's office. She had been searching for something important, muttering about those damn papers. In my hotel room, I opened my laptop and accessed my cloud storage. Years of dealing with Patricia had taught me to be prepared. Every important document, every bank statement, every legal paper, safe and backed up. I watched the security footage. There she was, digging through Michael's office, frustration growing as she failed to find what she wanted. Of course, she didn't find it. The documents weren't in the office at all. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. Hey, David, I said. Remember that plan we talked about? It's time. Patricia finally made her move, he asked. Yes, she kicked me out today, saying Michael wanted me gone. And the documents she was looking for. I smiled, thinking of the safe deposit box where I had hidden them. Still secure. She has no idea. Good, David said. Give me 24 hours. And Emma, get some rest. The next few weeks are going to be interesting. I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Patricia thought she had won, but she had just walked into my trap. Sometimes the best revenge is letting your enemy think they've won, until they realize they've lost everything. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Patricia and a flood of frantic text messages. My favorite was the last one. The USB drive is missing. What did you do with it? I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to a local cafe to meet Sarah, Michael's sister. Unlike her mother, Sarah had never been fooled by Patricia's tricks. She did what? Sarah gasped when I told her about being kicked out. That's crazy, even for Mom. What was she looking for in Michael's office? I stirred my coffee. I think she finally realized the truth about the trust. Sarah's eyes widened. You mean? Yes. The one your grandmother left for Michael. The one Patricia has been trying to control for years. 5 years ago, at my wedding, Michael's grandmother had pulled me aside. She had told me about the trust, nearly $2 million, set aside for Michael. But she also warned me about Patricia. Patricia thinks I don't know, she had said, but she's been trying to get Michael to sign it over to her for years. Promise me you'll protect it. I had promised, and I had kept that promise even after Grandma Rose passed away. Mom's been obsessed with that trust since Grandma died, Sarah sighed. She keeps insisting there are papers that give her access. There aren't, I said. I was there when Grandma updated the trust before she passed. She made me co-trustee alongside Michael. Patricia can never touch it. Sarah smirked. No wonder Mom hates you. But why now? Because the trust becomes fully accessible next month on Michael's 35th birthday. She's running out of time. I pulled out my phone and showed Sarah the security footage of Patricia tearing through Michael's office. She's going to tell Michael you were spying on her, Sarah warned. I know. That's why I have emails from both Michael and our insurance company approving the security system. After that break-in last year, remember? Sarah laughed. You think of everything, don't you? I have to. Your mom's been trying to get rid of me since day one. Just then, another message from Patricia popped up. I've spoken to a lawyer. You have no right to those security cameras. Remove them immediately. I showed it to Sarah. She rolled her eyes. Classic Mom. Always bluffing. So what's your next move? I smiled. Actually, I need your help. How's your acting? 2 hours later, Sarah rang Patricia's doorbell while I waited in the car. Her phone was connected to mine so I could hear everything. Sarah, Patricia sounded surprised. What are you doing here? Mom, what did you do? Sarah's voice was sharp, full of concern. Emma called me in tears. She said you threw her out. Oh, honey, I had to, Patricia said sweetly. She's been acting strange, installing cameras, going through Michael's things. I'm worried about her mental state. Really? Sarah said. Because I talked to Michael yesterday, his satellite phone is working again. He was confused about why Emma wasn't answering at home. Silence. Then Patricia said, That's impossible. The phone's been down. No, they fixed it 3 days ago. Mom, why were you in Michael's office? I wasn't. Emma's lying. She has video footage, Mom. What were you looking for? Another long pause. Then Patricia's voice turned cold. That little gold digger has no right to control your brother's trust. I'm his mother. I know what's best for him. The trust? Sarah asked, acting surprised. What trust? Don't play dumb. The one Grandma left for Michael. $2 million, and that art teacher gets to control half of it. Mom, Sarah said slowly, how do you know how much is in the trust? Those details are private. Patricia hesitated. I just assumed. Did you go through Grandma's papers before she died? Is that why you were searching Michael's office? Get out, Patricia snapped. You and Emma are always accusing me. Get out of my house. It's not your house, Mom, Sarah said, and I recorded this entire conversation. A door slammed. A minute later, Sarah got back in my car, grinning. Got it all, she said, holding up her phone. I saved the recording to my cloud storage, along with the security footage and the trust documents Patricia had been so desperate to find. What now? Sarah asked. Now we wait, I said. She's going to get desperate. She'll probably tell Michael I'm stealing from him or having an affair. She might even try to forge documents. And you're just going to let her. I thought about the years of evidence I had collected, every lie, every threat, every shady move Patricia had made. Sometimes I said, you have to let people dig their own graves. The next 3 weeks went exactly as I expected. Patricia got more desperate, trying to ruin my reputation. She posted online about her troubled daughter-in-law, sent emails to Michael's coworkers claiming I was unstable, and even hired a private investigator to follow me. What she didn't know was that every move she made was just more proof against her. Then, 1 week before Michael was supposed to come home, she made her biggest mistake. Early in the morning, my phone rang. It was David. She did it, he said. Patricia just tried to submit fake documents to the trust administrator. I sat up in bed, instantly awake. Let me guess. She forged Grandma Rose's signature, making it look like she gave her control. Even better, David replied. She forged Michael's signature, claiming he signed everything over to her before leaving for Guatemala. But she didn't realize the trust requires in-person verification. I smiled. Perfect. Time to end this. 3 hours later, I walked into David's office. Patricia was already there with her lawyer. She looked smug until Sarah walked in behind me. What is this? Patricia snapped. I'm here to discuss the trust, not have a family meeting. Oh, this is definitely about family, I said, opening my laptop. Specifically, how you tried to steal from your own son. Patricia's lawyer frowned. Be careful with your accusations. They're not accusations, David said, handing out documents. It's all here, 5 years of evidence, starting with Patricia trying to access the trust without permission, leading up to the fake documents she submitted this morning. Patricia's face went pale as she flipped through the papers. These are lies. Really? I said. Then I clicked play on my laptop. Her own voice filled the room. That little gold digger has no right to control your brother's trust. I'm his mother. I looked at her. That's you, confessing to Sarah. Along with security footage of you searching Michael's office, your threatening emails to me, and of course, the fake documents you submitted. Patricia turned to her lawyer, looking panicked. They can't use these recordings. I didn't give permission. David spoke up. In this state, we only need one person's consent. And as you'll see on page 12, you signed an agreement allowing the security cameras 3 months ago. Patricia's hands shook. "What do you want?" she whispered. I met her eyes. 3 things. 1. You will remove your name from all of Michael's accounts. 2. You will sign a legal document saying you will never interfere with the trust again. And 3. I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. You will tell Michael the truth when he gets back. All of it. And if I don't? She asked. Sarah finally spoke. Then we go to the police, Mom. The fraud, the forgery, everything. Patricia's eyes filled with tears, real ones this time. You'd send your own mother to jail. Sarah's voice was calm. You tried to steal $2 million from your own son. What did you think was going to happen? 2 days later, I moved back into my house. Patricia had left without a word, taking her things and her schemes with her. I spent the next few days undoing the damage she had done, putting back pictures she had taken down, and fixing up my art studio. When Michael finally came home, tanned and tired from his trip, Patricia was waiting at the airport with us. The moment he saw her face, he knew something was wrong. Mom, he asked, what's going on? Patricia looked at me, then at Sarah, before finally meeting her son's eyes. I need to tell you something, she said quietly, about what I did while you were gone. That night, after she had confessed and left in tears, Michael and I sat together in our living room. He shook his head in disbelief. I can't believe she tried to steal from us, he said. All these years, I thought you were just being paranoid about her. I knew you needed to see it for yourself, I said. That's why I documented everything. He pulled me close. Grandma was right about you, you know. The day before our wedding, she told me you were stronger than anyone realized, that you protect our family better than I ever could. I thought about Grandma Rose. Her final gift to us wasn't just the trust, but the warning about Patricia, the wisdom to be prepared. Michael continued. She told me something else too. She said sometimes the strongest people don't fight back right away. They wait, they watch, and they win. I smiled, remembering Patricia's face when she realized how badly she had lost. Your grandmother was a wise woman, I said. Michael kissed my forehead. And so is my wife. Looking around our peaceful home, I felt a deep sense of victory. Patricia had underestimated me, thinking I was just another person she could control. Instead, she learned a lesson she would never forget. Sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the one. This morning, I found another strange bundle under my pillow. It was wrapped in red cloth and filled with dried herbs, bones, and dark powder. But instead of being scared, I just smiled. My mother-in-law was getting predictable. Another curse, Maya, my husband, Alex, sighed from the doorway. Mom says she saw dark spirits following you last night. Oh really? I held up the bundle. Is that why she left us this lovely gift? Alex ran a hand through his hair, something he always did when frustrated. You know how she is. Maybe if you just... Tried what? I interrupted. Let her burn sage in our house again. Wear the charms she keeps sneaking onto me. Except that she thinks I'm the reason for all your family's bad luck. My mother-in-law, Mira, believed in spirits, curses, and bad omens, and for the past 3 years, she had decided that I was the cause of all her family's problems. It started at our wedding when Alex's dad had a small heart attack. Nothing serious, just too much food and dancing. But Mira took it as a bad sign. Then, when Alex lost a big job opportunity, she blamed my dark energy. The worst was when Alex's younger brother, Tommy, had a car accident last year. He was fine, but Mira was sure I had cursed him. I found her in our bedroom yesterday, I told Alex, picking up the bundle with a tissue. She was cleansing our space. Did you give her another key? Alex looked guilty. She just wants to protect me. Family means everything to her. Family. That word was Mira's favorite weapon. She always made sure I felt like the outsider. She never wanted me to marry Alex in the first place. What about the black salt around our bed? The strange symbols behind our photos? The dead chicken in our garden last week? Were those all protection too? She's just worried, Alex mumbled. Ever since Tommy's accident. Your brother fell asleep at the wheel after playing video games all night, I said firmly. That's not magic. That's exhaustion. But I knew facts wouldn't change Mira's mind. She had spent the past year spreading rumors, warning Alex about me, and planting cursed objects in our home. What she didn't know was that I had been paying attention. I had been studying her rituals, her beliefs, and her superstitions. Every charm she left, every spell she performed, I wrote them all down. I have to go, Alex said, checking his watch. Mom invited us for dinner. She says she had a vision about your aura. I nodded, already making a plan. Of course she did. Tell her I'll be there. After Alex left, I carefully placed the black bundle in a special box in my office. Inside were all of Mira's past gifts, cursed coins, graveyard dirt, even a lock of hair she claimed belonged to a witch. I had photographed, dated, and logged every single one. The full moon was in 3 days. Mira always said that the full moon reveals the truth. This time she was right. I picked up my phone and called my friend Sophia, a cultural anthropologist who specialized in folk magic. Another gift from your monster-in-law, she asked. Black bundle under my pillow, I said. She's getting bolder. Time to move forward with the plan. Sophia laughed. Everything's ready. She won't know what hit her. I glanced at my calendar, where the full moon was marked. Mira thought she was the only one who understood the power of rituals. She was about to learn otherwise. Perfect, I said, closing my journal. Let's see how she likes a taste of her own magic. Tonight's dinner would be interesting. Mira would probably serve her clarity tea, hoping Alex would see my true nature. But she had no idea I had a surprise of my own. Mira's house always smelled like strong incense and herbs, the kind that made your throat scratch. Tonight, the scent was even stronger. As we stepped inside for dinner, I noticed red candles flickering everywhere and new protective symbols above the doors. My son. Mira rushed to hug Alex, making sure to stand between us. I've been so worried. The spirits were restless last night. I raised an eyebrow at Alex, but he just looked away, caught between his mother's beliefs and my disbelief. Come, Mira said, leading us to the dining room. I've made a special meal to remove bad energy. The table was covered with her usual rituals, salt circles around each plate, black candles at the corners, and her infamous tea set ready on the side. I already knew how this night would go. Alex's younger brother, Tommy, was already seated, looking uncomfortable. He had tried to tell their mother that his accident wasn't my fault, but she had convinced him he was under my influence and couldn't trust himself. Maya, Mira said my name like it was poison. I had a vision about you last night. Really? I took my seat, purposely messing up the salt circle around my plate. I saw her eyes narrow. What kind of vision? I saw darkness around you, spreading to my family. She poured the tea, making sure my cup came from a separate pot. But don't worry, I've invited someone who can help. Right on cue, the doorbell rang. Mira hurried to answer it, returning with an older woman dressed in layers of shawls and more crystals than a jewelry store. This is Madame Verna, Mira announced proudly. She's a real seer. She will reveal the truth. I took a sip of tea to hide my smile. Everything was going according to plan. The spirits are active tonight, Madame Verna said as she took a seat. The full moon approaches. Secrets will come to light. Under the table, I sent a quick text to my friend Sophia. Showtime. Madame Verna will perform a revelation ceremony, Mira said excitedly. She will help us understand what's really been happening. Madame Verna arranged crystals and herbs on the table, pushing aside our dinner plates. I watched closely. She was performing exactly the ritual I had studied. Hold hands, she commanded. We must create a circle of truth. As we linked hands, the dining room lights flickered. Mira gasped. Right on time, Sophia. The spirits are restless, Madame Verna said. They have much to reveal. Suddenly, the room grew colder. Another trick Sophia and I had planned using the smart thermostat I had helped Mira install last month. Someone here has been working with dark forces, Madame Verna continued. Someone has been placing cursed objects. Yes, Mira interrupted. In my son's house. I keep finding them. No, Madame Verna's eyes snapped open, staring straight at Mira. The spirits show me someone planting these objects. Someone who pretends to protect but actually wants to harm. Mira's face turned pale. What? No, that's wrong. My phone buzzed. I pulled up my photo gallery, pictures I had secretly taken over the past year. Images of Mira sneaking into our house, planting cursed objects, performing rituals to frame me. The security cameras I had installed had captured everything. The spirits don't lie. I said, turning my phone so everyone could see. Every full moon, Mira. That's when you came to plant your evidence, wasn't it? I was protecting my family, Mira stammered. By faking curses? Madame Verna's voice was sharp. By trying to break apart your son's marriage? The spirits are not pleased with deception. Alex stared at the photos, his face filled with shock and realization. Mom, you've been sneaking into our house to do this? Tommy leaned in to look. Is that why you insisted on having a key? To set up these curses yourself? The lights flickered again, this time stronger. A sudden gust of wind, courtesy of the smart home system, blew through the room, snuffing out the candles. The spirits demand truth, Madame Verna declared, and they will accept nothing less. In the darkened room, Mira's face was illuminated only by the glow of my phone screen, still displaying the damning evidence of her deception. The security footage played silently, Mira sneaking into our house at midnight, planting her cursed objects, performing her rituals, all carefully staged to frame me. The spirits are not pleased with those who use sacred beliefs for manipulation, Madame Verna continued, her voice stern. They demand restitution. What Mira didn't know was that Madame Verna was actually Professor Veronica Martinez, a colleague of Sophia's who specialized in studying how supernatural beliefs were sometimes used to control family dynamics. She'd been more than happy to help expose Mira's manipulation. I did it for the family, Mira insisted, but her voice wavered. She brought bad luck from the moment she joined us. Dad's heart attack was from his undiagnosed high blood pressure. Tommy spoke up, his voice quiet but firm. My accident was my own fault for driving tired. And Alex's lost project. His competitor had better connections. None of that had anything to do with Maya. Alex stood up suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. All this time, Mom. You've been trying to destroy my marriage, break up my family, and for what? Because you couldn't control everything anymore. The smart home system Sophia was controlling created another cold breeze, making the curtains flutter ominously. The spirits show me more, Madame Verna announced. They show me a mother's fear, not of dark forces, but of losing her grip on her son. They show me a woman who would rather create chaos than accept change. Mira burst into tears, but for once, Alex didn't rush to comfort her. Instead, he walked over to stand beside me. I've been blind, he said, taking my hand. Maya never tried to come between us. Mom, you did that yourself with all your accusations and schemes. I squeezed his hand, feeling the tension of the past 3 years finally starting to release. I never wanted to prove you wrong, Mira. I just wanted you to accept me as part of the family. But the curses, Mira protested weakly, were all planted by you, I said gently. Every full moon, like clockwork. The security cameras caught everything. The only dark energy in this family was the doubt and fear you created. Tommy stood up too. This has to stop, Mom. Maya's family now, whether you like it or not. The lights gradually came back on, Sophia's final cue. Madame Verna began gathering her crystals. The spirits have spoken, she declared. They say this family can heal, but only if truth replaces deception and acceptance replaces fear. Mira sat in her chair, looking smaller somehow. All her carefully constructed schemes had crumbled, exposed not by dark magic, but by simple technology and her own predictable patterns. I'm keeping the security cameras, I said quietly, and Alex and I will be changing our locks. But Mira, if you're willing to start fresh. No more curses, no more accusations, I am too. Alex wrapped his arm around my shoulders. That's more than generous, considering everything she's done. Mira looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. You forgive me. Just like that? Not just like that, I corrected. You'll need to earn back our trust. But family is family, right? Isn't that what you always say? 3 months later, things had changed dramatically. Mira started seeing a therapist to work on her control issues. The black bundles and cursed objects stopped appearing in our house. She even enrolled in a meditation class to help manage her anxiety about losing her sons. Last week, she invited me to help cook for the family dinner. No specialty, no salt circles, just regular food and conversation. As we chopped vegetables side by side, she finally asked the question I've been waiting for. How did you know? About the full moon timing, about everything. I smiled. You taught me well, Mira. I learned to pay attention to patterns to look for signs. I just used that knowledge differently than you expected. She nodded, actually looking impressed. Maybe you do belong in this family after all. Coming from Mira, it was practically a declaration of love. I accepted it as the peace offering it was. Later that night, as Alex and I got ready for bed, he noticed the small protection charm Mira had given me, a proper one this time, not a curse in disguise, hanging by our door. "You're keeping it?" he asked, surprised. "Why not?" I shrugged. Sometimes the best way to break a curse is to choose to believe in blessings instead. He pulled me close, kissing my forehead. "When did you get so wise?" "Oh, I grinned. Just something I learned from your mother." "You need to leave. Your kids are too noisy and messy." Patricia slammed her fork down, glaring at me across the dinner table. "My name is Olivia, and at 34, I was being told by my mother-in-law to move out of a house she thought was hers. What she didn't know was that before he passed away, her husband George had secretly left the house to me, knowing exactly how she would act once he was gone." "The kids were just playing outside, Patricia," I said, wiping my daughter's chin. "They're 6. That's what kids do." Patricia scowled. "This is my house, and I won't have it turned into a playground. James and I raised Michael without this kind of chaos." She gestured at the children's artwork on the fridge like it was an eyesore. Across the table, my brother-in-law James nodded in agreement while his wife, Sophie, smirked. They had moved in months ago after James lost his job, but somehow, their presence never seemed to bother Patricia. "You have until tomorrow to leave," Patricia continued. "I talked to Michael, and he agrees." My heart sank. My husband, Michael, was deployed overseas, but we had already discussed Patricia's behavior. He told me to stand my ground when the time was right. I remembered George calling me into his study 2 years ago. His voice was weak, but determined. "Olivia, listen to me. Patricia will try to take the house from you. She's always resented how much Michael loves you, but I've made sure she can't. The house is yours." He handed me an envelope with all the legal documents proving I was the owner. "You'll know when to use these." Now, as Patricia planned how she would redecorate her house, I knew that moment had arrived. "You can't just throw them out, Mom," Michael's sister, Lisa, said from the doorway. She usually stayed out of family fights, so her support surprised me. Patricia waved a hand dismissively. "Olivia has money from her parents. She can find an apartment." I held my children close and whispered, "It's okay. We're not going anywhere." Patricia's face darkened. "Did you not hear me? I want you gone by tomorrow." I stood slowly, my chair scraping against the floor. Patricia flinched at the noise. "Actually, Patricia, we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," she snapped. I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope George had given me. My hands trembled slightly, but I stayed firm. "George left something for you," I said. "I think it's time you knew the truth." Patricia's face twisted in confusion. Behind her, James and Sophie exchanged worried glances. They had been counting on staying here rent-free. "What are you talking about?" Patricia demanded. "George left everything to me." I placed the envelope on the table. "Not everything. Not the house." Patricia's hands shook as she opened the documents. Her face turned pale as she read. This can't be real." But it was. Every word, every signature, every legal stamp. The house was never hers. She had just tried to evict the wrong person. Patricia's hands shook as she flipped through the trust documents. Her face grew paler with each page. The dining room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning and my children's soft whispers. "This is fake," she finally said, but her voice was weak. "George would never do this to me. He would never give our home to—" She waved a hand at me, unable to say my name. "To his grandchildren's mother." I finished for her. "To the woman who took care of him while you were busy with your social clubs." "Is that so hard to believe, Patricia?" James leaned forward, frowning. "Mom, what do those papers say?" I spoke before she could. "They say that George left this house to me and the twins. He knew what would happen once he was gone, so he made sure we were protected." "But that's not fair," Sophie blurted out, losing her usual calm. "We were planning to renovate the East Wing for our home office." I turned to her. "You mean my East Wing? The one you've been living in rent-free for 3 months." Patricia slammed the papers on the table. "I won't accept this. I'll call my lawyer tonight. Go ahead, I said, taking out my phone. Want Mr. Harrison's number? He handled all the paperwork for George. Patricia froze. She knew George's lawyer well. If he handled the trust, it was solid. Lisa, who had stayed quiet, finally spoke. Mom, if George did this, maybe he had a reason. Patricia's voice rose. What reason could he have for giving my house to her? I reached into the envelope and pulled out a letter written in George's handwriting. Maybe you should read his explanation yourself. Patricia snatched the letter and read quickly. I already knew every word. My dearest Patricia, if you're reading this, it means Olivia has had to show you the truth. I know you're angry, but please understand. I did this to protect our grandchildren and the woman who brought happiness back into Michael's life. I watched you try to control everything and everyone, including me. But Olivia is different. She loves Michael for who he is, not who she wants him to be. She gave us 2 wonderful grandchildren who deserve to grow up in a home filled with love, not strict rules and criticism. The house belongs to her now. This is my final decision and my last gift to our family's future. All my love, George. Tears rolled down Patricia's cheeks. For the first time, she looked truly lost. Daddy? Emily tugged at my sleeve. Are we really staying? I knelt beside my children and hugged them. Yes, sweetheart, this is our home. Grandpa George made sure of that. But where will we go? James demanded, his face red. Sophie and I can't afford our own place. I stood up. You're welcome to stay if you start paying rent. Market rate with a lease. The same goes for you, Patricia. This is still your family home, but under my terms now. Patricia looked up, her makeup streaked with tears. You expect me to pay rent? In my house? Not your house, I corrected. And yes, I do. George left instructions for how the house should be managed. I'm just following his wishes. The room went silent. James and Sophie whispered to each other. Lisa gave me a look of reluctant respect. Patricia just sat there, holding George's letter. After a long pause, she finally spoke. He really planned all this. He did, I said. He wanted to make sure the twins always had a home, and that I had the power to protect them, even from family if necessary. Alex's foot accidentally kicked the table leg, making a loud noise. Normally, Patricia would scold him. But this time, she just stared at the twins like she was really seeing them for the first time. I need time, she finally said, smoothing her napkin. To think. I nodded, putting the documents away. Take all the time you need, but understand this, we're not leaving. And things are going to change around here. As I took my kids upstairs, I heard Patricia quietly crying at the table. A part of me felt sorry for her. Losing control was her worst fear, but another part of me felt relieved. George had given us more than just a house. He had given us the power to stand our ground. Now, Patricia had to decide if she could accept the new reality or keep fighting a battle she had already lost. The weeks following the revelation brought dramatic changes to our household. Patricia had retreated to her sister's house to process, while James and Sophie scrambled to find alternative housing once they realized I was serious about charging market rate rent. My phone buzzed one morning as I was helping the twins with breakfast. It was a text from Michael. Mom called me crying, said you stole her house. Want to tell me what's going on? I sent him photos of the trust documents and George's letter. A few minutes later, my phone rang. Dad was always smarter than anyone gave him credit for, Michael said, his voice warm despite the static of the overseas connection. He knew exactly what Mom would try to do. Are you okay? We're fine, I assured him, watching Emily help Alex pour cereal. Better than fine, actually. The kids can finally relax in their own home. Good, Michael replied. I've got your back on this, Liv. Always have, always will. 2 days later, Patricia returned. She stood on the front porch, looking smaller somehow, more vulnerable without her usual armor of superiority. May I come in? She asked quietly. To talk? We sat in the kitchen, the same room where she critiqued my parenting countless times. But now she perched uncertainly on the edge of her chair, hands wrapped around the tea I'd offered. I've been reading George's letter over and over, she began. He was right about me, about everything. She took a shaky breath. I was so focused on maintaining control that I never saw what I was doing to this family, to my grandchildren. As if on cue, we heard laughter from the backyard. The twins were playing in the sprinkler, something Patricia would have forbidden just weeks ago. "They're good kids, Patricia," I said softly. "They just need space to be themselves." She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. George knew that. He saw what I couldn't or wouldn't see. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "I had my lawyer review everything. The trust is ironclad. The house is legally yours. It's still your home too," I reminded her. "If you want it to be, but things have to change." "I know," she whispered. "I'd like to try to do better. To be the grandmother they deserve." Over the next few months, we all watched in amazement as Patricia slowly transformed. She started joining the twins for arts and crafts, actually participating instead of just criticizing the mess. She learned to laugh when Alex accidentally spilled his juice instead of reaching for her cleaning supplies in panic. James and Sophie eventually found their own apartment, realizing that depending on Patricia's favor had held them back from growing up. Lisa started visiting more often, remarking on how much warmer the house felt. One evening, I found Patricia in George's study, looking at old family photos. "I found these in his desk," she said, showing me a stack of pictures. They were all candid shots of the twins, Emily's first steps, Alex's birthday party, both of them playing in the garden. He kept every single one. He loved them exactly as they were. I said gently, "No conditions, no expectations." Patricia wiped her eyes. "I'm learning to do the same. It's not easy, changing the habits of a lifetime, but," she looked out the window where the twins were chasing fireflies in the twilight, "it's worth it." When Michael finally returned from deployment, he was amazed by the changes in his childhood home. Gone were the plastic covers on the furniture and the strict rules about which rooms were off limits. Instead, he found his mother teaching the twins how to bake cookies in the kitchen, flour dusting all their faces. "Dad would love this," he whispered to me as we watched them together. This is exactly what he wanted. He was right. George's final gift hadn't just been the house. It had been the opportunity for his family to heal, to grow, to learn to love without conditions or controls. 1 year to the day after I revealed the trust documents, we hosted a family dinner. Patricia had helped the twins decorate the dining room with their artwork, proudly displaying their creativity instead of hiding it away. As we sat around the table, Patricia raised her glass. "To George," she said, her voice thick with emotion, who knew exactly what this family needed, even when we didn't know ourselves. I watched my children beam at their grandmother, saw the genuine warmth in her smile as she looked back at them, and knew that George had been right all along. Sometimes love means making hard choices, setting firm boundaries, and forcing people to face uncomfortable truths. But if you're lucky, those tough choices lead to something beautiful. Like watching a controlling mother-in-law learn to embrace chaos, or seeing your children finally feel completely at home in their own house. As Emily and Alex raced off to play after dinner, their laughter echoing through the halls, Patricia turned to me with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said simply, "for not giving up on me." I squeezed her hand gently. "That's what family does," I replied. "We give each other second chances." And in that moment, I knew George was somewhere smiling, knowing his final act of love had transformed not just a house, but all of our hearts.